All right, now we want to look at some more examples on worked examples on vernier calipers and micrometer screw gauge. Now let's look at these two examples on vernier calipers. Number one, this is number one. We are told to find the reading of the vernier calipers shown. This is the vernier caliper shown. So we want to find the reading. As earlier pointed out yesterday, I said that the vernier caliper, you can divide it into two. This first part, this segment, that's the main scale. So we can find the main scale reading. Now, what's the main scale reading? The main scale reading will be the last line before this second part. And the last line there is this. This is the last line. So if this is 3, this is 2.9, and this is 2.8, it means the main scale reading is 2.8. Also, mind you, this is in centimeter. So what does that mean? And you know that vernier caliper will measure to 2 decimal places in centimeter. So you won't just write 2.8. Instead, you write 2.80 centimeter. That is 2 decimal places in centimeter. Now, we look at the vernier reading. And what's the vernier reading? The vernier reading will be the points of coincidence. What do I mean by the points of coincidence? That is where the main scale and the vernier scale meet. Now, where do the main scale and the vernier scale meet? If we look at this very well, we discover that it is here, this particular line. You see that the main scale is here and the vernier reading is here, and the two of them are joined together here. So it is this line. So let's count the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It means at the 8th line they meet. That's the point of coincidence. So the point of coincidence is 8. But the vernier reading will not be 8. Again, when you are talking of vernier caliper, we know that in centimeter, that's 0.01 centimeter, and in millimeter, that's 0.1 millimeter. That is 2 decimal places in centimeter and 1 decimal place in millimeter. Now, since this is in centimeter and the point of coincidence is 8, that would be 8 times 0.01, and that is 0.08 centimeter. Now, since we have gotten that, now what is now the reading on this vernier caliper? The reading now will be what? We had the main reading plus the vernier reading. 0.80 centimeter plus what? 0.08 centimeter. And that is 2.88 centimeter for this question. And now, the second question. What do we do again? We find the main reading. Now, what's the main reading or main scale reading? Yeah, main reading. That's what? The last line before this vernier scale. Now, what's the last line? You would see that this is the last line. And if this is 5, this will be 4.9. And this is 4.8. So the last line is 4.8. Since this vernier caliper is a millimeter, that would be 1 decimal place in millimeter. So that's 4.8. So that's 1 decimal place. So that's 4.8 millimeter. Now, what's the point of coincidence where the main scale and the vernier scale meet? Let's check. True. Where do they meet? They meet here. So let's count the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the 7th line. So that's the point of coincidence is at the 7th line. Now, what did I say about vernier caliper? A millimeter, that will be 7 times 0.1 millimeter. So that's 7 times 0.1 millimeter. And that is what? 0.7 millimeter. So now what is the reading? If we add this together, that is 4.8 plus what? 0.7. Now 8 plus 7, that's 15. 4, that's 5. That is what? 5.5 millimeter. So that's the second question on that. Now let's move to questions on micrometer screw gauge. This is a cross-section of a micrometer screw gauge, and this is in millimeter. And for micrometer screw gauge, you are going to be, and micrometer screw gauge will measure to 3 decimal place in centimeter and 2 decimal place in millimeter. It means that's 0.001 centimeter or 0.01 millimeter. Now, for this micrometer screw gauge, we also find the main reading here. What is the main reading? Now, the main reading is this. If this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. But you won't just write 4 since it is a micrometer screw gauge. That will be to 3 decimal place in centimeter. This is in millimeter. It will be 2 decimal place in millimeter. So that will be 4.00 millimeter. And we have looked at that. We look at this other segment. Where is the point of coincidence here? Points of coincidence. Now, if we look at this is 10, this is 15, this is 16. The point of coincidence where this part joins this part is this line. So if this is 15, this is 16, that's 16. So that will be 16 times, since it is in millimeter, that will be 16 times 0.01 millimeter. And that is what? 0.16 millimeter, 2 decimal place in millimeter for micrometer screw gauge. So now our final reading now. So our reading now will be 4.00 millimeter plus what? 0.16 millimeter. And that will be what? 4.16 millimeter for this question. And now for the next question, still on micrometer screw gauge. Now this one is in centimeter. Now what's the reading for this main division? So now the reading for this part, that is the main reading. Main reading is what? This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5. Mind you, it is in centimeter. That will be 3 decimal places in centimeter. That will be 5.000 centimeter. Now, what's the point of coincidence? If we look very well, we see that this is the point of coincidence at 25, where this part joins this part is here. That's at 25. So it means the points of coincidence equals to 25, but instead of writing 25, we say 25 times, since it is in centimeter, that's times 0.001 centimeter, and that is 0.025 centimeter. So that the reading now on this instrument will be what? 5.000 centimeter plus 0.025 centimeter, and that will be 5.025 centimeter. So that's that on that. Now, 2 questions more. Now look at this question. A student measures the internal and external diameter of a cylindrical vessel as 100 plus or minus 1 millimeter. That is the external diameter. External diameter is what? Is 100 plus or minus 1 millimeter. And the internal diameter is what? Is 104. Oh, this is the internal diameter, sorry. The internal diameter as this, and the external diameter as 104 plus or minus 1 millimeter. Now we are told to find the possible error in the determination of the thickness of the vessel. Now what's the error? The possible error will be this other part. Just say 1 plus 1, that's 2. So that will be plus or minus 2 for the possible error. That's the answer. But you may have a question that can tell you to find the percentage error in the thickness. Of the cylindrical vessel. Now, how do we find that percentage error? Now, this is how we are going to find that percentage error. You take this part, you have 104, then here you have 100. You say 104 minus 100, which is 4. And already we have the error as 2. So that percentage error, you already know percentage error as error over exact times 100 over 1. That would be error, which is 2 over 4 times 100 over 1, which is 1 over 2 times 100 over 1, which is 50%. It means the percentage error in the thickness is 50%. Now, the last question. The least possible error in using a meter rule graduated in millimeter. Now, if you have looked at the previous videos, I have talked about the least possible error. Now, what's the formula for the least possible error in using a meter rule? Now, for a meter rule, the least possible error is what? Is 1/2 times smallest division. Now, you are told that this meter rule is graduated in millimeter. Now, for a meter rule in millimeter that is graduated in millimeter, now what's the smallest division? The smallest division equals to 1 millimeter. But if it is graduated in, now for a meter rule in centimeter, the smallest division is what? Is 0.1 centimeter. But in this case, we are told that the meter rule is graduated in millimeter, so we don't need to look at the other one. So now our answer now would be 1/2 times, since the smallest division for this particular meter rule since it is graduated in millimeter, the smallest division is 1 millimeter. So the 1/2 times 1 millimeter, that's 1/2, which is 0.5 millimeter. But if the meter rule is graduated in centimeter, the least possible error now will be 1/2 times the smallest division for a meter rule graduated in centimeter. Oh, that should be 1/2 times 0.1 centimeter, and that is 0.05 centimeter. So as a way, this, you can see this as more or less like an assignment. What are the uses of vernier calipers and micrometer screw gauge? Thank you.